David Benavidez defeats David MORRELL via unanimous decision. Now, I'm not going to do an in-depth post-fight breakdown because I'm going to refer you instead to the pre-fight breakdown that I did. Unfortunately, it took a long time to upload to YouTube, so it didn't show up on until just before the actual fight. However, I feel that most of my technical breakdown of the pre-fight is valid for the post-fight analysis, especially on the part of David Benavidez. Now, the one thing I did not anticipate in my pre-fight breakdown of David MORRELL was what he started doing in the second half of the fight, which is he leaned over at his waist, heavy over his lead foot, and dropped his lead hand. Now, throughout our live broadcast, I kept questioning why he was doing that. It was because it was just sort of out of character and just it's an odd position to put yourself in, because you don't really have a lot of moves from that position unless you are just looking for that up jab, meaning you are gonna touch your opponent's chin with the top part of your fist rather than the knuckles. A good example of someone who made a lot of use of the up jab was Paul Malignaggi, and he would carry that lead hand low. However, to effectively get that up jab, you have to kind of suddenly bounce in with it. So you need to be kind of bouncing and active on your feet. You don't want to be leaning over your lead foot and kind of making yourself stationary. Now, the answer to my question came in the 11th round, where MORRELL kind of suddenly leapt and threw a very leaping shot and managed to catch Benavidez as Benavidez was trying to circle away, which then knocked Benavidez down momentarily onto kind of all fours, not his knees, just his feet. I think his feet and his gloves touched the canvas, but the rule is if one glove touches the canvas, that's counted as a knockdown. So in my opinion, that type of move is what I call, a one-hit wonder type thing, and I guess it's a move that MORRELL sort of discovered for himself during sparring sessions. And it was something he decided he needed to resort to because he ran out of answers for the pressure and the combinations that Benavidez was putting on him for the first half of the fight. MORRELL also answered another question I raised in the pre-fight breakdown, which is, will he listen to his trainer when the going gets tough? And the answer to that, unfortunately for him and for Ronnie Shields, was kind of a no, because I doubt Ronnie Shields told him, hey, do that freaky move where you bend over at the waist, drop your lead hand, and throw a leaping shot. I wasn't able to hear the corner advice from Ronnie Shields to David MORRELL, but it did look to me around the 9th or 10th round, Ronnie Shields was asking David MORRELL to move his upper body side to side, and what that tells me is, you've got to use that defensive movement to try to work his way in and land on Benavidez. I believe Shields was asking MORRELL to do that because just trying to stay on the outside and counter shot was not working. So we got the answer to my two questions about MORRELL, which is what will he do when he's now under pressure, because he's never really been in a fight where he's losing and he has to come up with something in the second half of a pressure fight. MORRELL's 3 12-round experiences, he was winning handily, so he never had to make a major adjustment. The answer here is, unfortunately, yes, he did make an adjustment, but it probably was not the adjustment his trainer was asking for. So that answers the other question, which is, will he listen to his trainer? And apparently not. So those are issues that David MORRELL has to address within himself. I mean, there's no amount of sort of finger shaking that's, going to convince him that he needs to listen to his coach. He has to decide on his own, hey, yeah, you know what? When the going gets tough, I do need to listen to my corner. So I feel that in spite of the fact that MORRELL scored the only knockdown in that fight, he demonstrated to me that he can be broken mentally in the second half or under pressure in the second half of a 12-round fight. Now, the other little bit of drama during the fight was the fact that MORRELL was deducted a point hitting after the bell after the 11th round, which essentially, unfortunately for him, just nullified the 1 point he gained by knocking Benavidez down. Should the referee have deducted that 1 point? Well, I mean, when you do something like that, it's kind of subjective, so it's really up to the referee. Technically, he could have just given him a warning, but if he felt the move was egregious enough, then the ref is well within their rights to deduct a point. Same thing could be said of a low blow. The referee's not obligated to give the person who's throwing a low blow a warning only. He could immediately deduct a point if he felt that the low blow was blatantly intentional or really damaging. That's always up to the referee's discretion. But, in my opinion, did he need to deduct the point? Not really. But the thing is, it wouldn't have made a difference in the outcome of the scores anyways. And the fact that Morrell had to, or decided to, hit after the bell also shows that he's kind of in, I won't call it desperation mode, but just he's run out of things to do, so to speak, and he knows that he's in a losing position, and so he just does whatever he can come up with. Now, the only other interesting point for me about the fight was actually at the post-fight press conference. For whatever reason, what Benavidez said to Louis DeCubis Sr., that was the older gentleman with the silver hair and the glasses who was on the podium for the pre-fight press conference and the post-fight press conference with David MORRELL. Louis DeCubis Sr. Always has a hand in I think any Cuban boxer that makes their way to the United States. He's been involved with Cuban fighters since, let's go back to Joel Casamayor and probably prior to him. Regardless, you might remember at the pre-fight press conference, Benavidez said to Louis DeCubis, "Hey, your check is bigger than your fighter's," or "You're getting a bigger check than your fighter is." And what that means is it's the manager who cuts the deal with the promoter, right? They negotiate whatever amount of money that they're going to get for the fight. They also negotiate, in this case, highly likely that they were negotiating about a percentage of the pay-per-view. Now, that doesn't always go 100% to the fighter, right? Because the manager is allowed to take out whatever that he contractually negotiated with his fighter. He's allowed to take out a certain percentage if that's what they've agreed upon. There may be a flat fee involved. It's all, a contractual agreement between the manager, Louis DeCubis, and the fighter, David MORRELL. But it's a separate negotiation between Louis DeCubis and the promoter. Now, Amir Khan explained to me when he was training in Los Angeles that the reason fighters start their own promotional company is not necessarily because they want to promote fights. It's because if you're a co-promoter, you must be told all of the numbers. You are privy to the pay-per-view numbers, the gate, everything. All the financial aspects of the fight must be disclosed to you because you're a co-promoter. So that makes a lot of sense, right? Why fighters, once they get to a certain level, want to have their own promotional company and be part of the promotion for their own fights. That way they know what the numbers are that they're dealing with. But I think Benavidez is pointing to the fact that he, in his estimation, Morrell doesn't know what the numbers are involved in this fight. And so he made that clear at pre-fight, and that really set DeCubis off. He got really mad at Benavidez, if you recall that. And they had their little spat back and forth while DeCubis was at the podium and Benavidez was sitting to his right. And I hate to say it, but I tend to think that Benavidez hit upon a truth, because then DeCubis, of his own will, at the post-fight press conference, again brought it up when Team Benavidez walked out onto the stage. Now, I would say, in my opinion, you're better off being a gracious loser than, trying to attack the winner. Be gracious in victory, be gracious in defeat, and just congratulate David Benavidez. But instead, DeCubis just, attacked Benavidez again and said, "Hey, he called me a thief, this and that." And, they started going back and forth at it. And, other people had to intervene to kind of try to sweep DeCubis off the stage and usher in Benavidez. Now, when one of the reporters decided to ask Benavidez about those comments, and David just said, I don't want to talk about it. I already said what I said. He knows. People in the business know. That's that. So, I give credit to David Benavidez for not throwing more fuel on the fire, and he's absolutely right. Insiders in the business probably know exactly what DeCubis is up to in terms of the numbers, and they know what Morrell doesn't know or wasn't made privy to. But again, as I pointed out in the pre-fight breakdown, Morrell's career And in fact, his coming to America and being here and being brought up and, so rapidly is all somewhat manufactured by the team of people behind him who are it's all about the dollars, right? Like DeCubis, Al Heyman, and whomever else they've gotten to invest in Morrell, which I suspect is the guy who owns the armory in Minneapolis, because that's where Morrell is residing. It's not really common for a Cuban to hit American soil and head straight to Minneapolis, right? Why would you do that? But as you guys know, when somebody makes a business investment, they want to cash out at some point, right? So who knows if this fight is their sort of exit strategy with Dave Morrell. I'm not sure what they do with him next. What they have to kind of rebuild him a little bit to get him in position to vie for another title shot. I don't think that this fight warrants a rematch, really. So it'll be more interesting in a sense to see what Team Morrell does in terms of maneuvering their investment further along in the boxing business world. I think Benavidez has lined himself up, as they say, for a shot at, quite frankly, either the winner or the loser of Beterbiev Bivol 2. But again, David, kind of sidestepped that question and basically said, of course he'd like to fight big fights, but right now he just wants to rest after a very arduous training camp for this fight. Personally, I think Benavidez Bivol or Benavidez Beterbiev is a great matchup. Either fight would be incredibly interesting to see. Benavidez versus an outside boxer in Bivol, or Benavidez versus, the power puncher Artur Beterbiev. But what would you guys like to see David Benavidez do next? What would you like to see David Morrell do next? How did you enjoy the fights last night? Please let me know in the comments, and be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and please like, comment, and then share this video, plus the pre-fight breakdown. I appreciate you guys' support. Thank you.